So we have this tough parable about forgiveness. You know, we're supposed to forgive as we have been forgiven. And St. Peter, you know, he's being smart. He's clever on this one. He's asking 7 times. And as you know, with your biblical mind, it's not simply the numerical number 7. It's a symbolic number. 7 is the biblical number of perfection. So Peter says, "Should I forgive perfectly?" And Jesus ramps it up exponentially, 77 times. And the parable implies that the forgiveness is the forgiveness received that gives us the power, the strength, and the ability to forgive those around us. Because there's sometimes things in life that are very difficult to forgive. And in our case, it's not just some powerful king we serve, but it's God himself. We are to forgive as he does, because he has forgiven us all. And, you know, as we go about hearing this parable, whenever we've struggled to forgive, can we see ourselves in this man, in the parable? And ask, like, what's his problem? What is making him act in this way? On one level, like he can't see or appreciate what he has received. There's a deeper problem that seems to be driving his unforgiving attitude and actions. He seems to have a disordered attachment to money. He's arrived at this desperate situation, racking up a huge debt to his master. Then after having it forgiven, he doesn't see his fellow servant as he should. He's thinking about the money that he is supposed to get from him. Greed is blinding him to the dignity of his fellow servant, to the great mercy and salvation he has just received. And his fellow servant gives him the response that he himself gave to the king. "Be patient with me, I'll pay you back in full." But now this servant won't hear of it. He even starts choking the man, which the king never did. And so this forgiven servant becomes a wicked, and is revealed as a wicked servant. So what makes it difficult for us to forgive? Like it seems to be in this parable, it was this man's disordered attachment to money. Maybe it's we get a rush off the anger. Maybe we thrive off the resentment and the anger. Maybe we just don't know how to deal with it. But whatever it is, the Lord is asking us to surrender to him and to forgive, first by receiving the forgiveness that he has for us. And so if we think about how this man in the parable that has this disordered attachment to money, like how do I avoid that? How do I avoid a disordered attachment to money? Well, I would say that we bring our earthly treasure into our Eucharistic life. That is, we're Eucharistic with it, which means 2 things. First, gratitude. That all of our earthly riches is a gift from the good God. That we are grateful for what we've been given. And the second is generosity. That we give it away. If we want to have that right relationship, not to have it become an idol or have a disordered attachment, that we're grateful and that we are generous. To realize that it is this gift from the good God for us to accomplish good with. Because to take really our earthly treasure, which passes away, and to invest it to gain heavenly treasure, which is eternal, salvation, eternal life. So how are we to be generous with our money? In the Bible, we call it tithing. Now, in the Old Covenant, under the Mosaic law, the chosen people gave 10%. That's God's. And although the church teaches that offering some sort of material support for the church is obligatory for all Catholic adults who are able to do so, that's one of the precepts of the church, it doesn't specify what percent of one's income should be given. And the key to understanding this is what St. Paul says in 1 Corinthians and 2 Corinthians. In 1 Corinthians, he says in 16:2, on the first day of the week, Sunday, each of you should set aside whatever he can afford. And in 2 Corinthians, this is 9:5-6, where we are asked to give from the heart. So really, our giving comes from our relationship with Jesus. That we have to listen to him of what he's saying. What is he asking for us to give from the heart? Well, in this context, what I'd like to do is to go over with you our annual financial report. And hopefully you all have a bulletin here. And if you open up to the inside, you're going to see this report that I put together with Troy CtK, who's the head of our finance council. And that kind of gives some explanation for it. But then you can turn to the back page and you can see the numbers. Now, I'm not going to go into great detail with this. Just you can take it home and read it and see for yourself. But last week, we went over the Pastoral Vision Playbook. That's also printed in the bulletin in case you didn't get it last week. It's like, this is our mission. Be passionate about our mission. And so today what I want to go over is the financial report, because are the earthly resources that fuel our mission. I mean, there's this famous saying, no margin, no mission, right? Of putting train in front of the track. So if you open it up here, if you want to just look at it quickly, we've tried to keep it fairly simple, not get too far into the weeds, but here's our income, and there's our expenses of last year. And then there's 3 columns. The first column here is what we call actual. That's what actually happened. That's what we brought in, what we spent. And that's next to the center column, which says what our budget was set for this last year. And then here's our budget set for the coming year. All right, so as you can see, we brought in more than we spent. We have a budget surplus of $52,000. That's wonderful. Thank you for giving this past year, for all those who do that. And that's actually of the last 5 years since I've been here, we've always had a budget surplus. That's allowed us to fuel all sorts of different projects, including upgrading our security, helping our school, renovating the parish offices, funding programs, our music program, and among other things, our outreach. That's always helped, and I've never had to ask for anything. And also without going into our savings, which is our investments there are at the bottom of the page. You can see what our savings look like. So our total right now is 2.1, most of that being in what's called the Kiosi Trust, which is kind of a unique thing to Christ the King, that we were given a bequest of about $400,000 several years ago, and it was put into a trust that's run by the parish, and that serves as a maintenance endowment basically for the church, and if the church is taking care of other buildings. So it's kind of like a maintenance endowment. So that's what that is, and then our other savings accounts. So that's our picture of this last year. There's one piece that I just want to draw your attention to that we noticed. If you look at our actual there, the general offertory, and then you look at our operational expenses, is that our operational income and our operational expenses lines have kind of crossed. So we're actually our offertory, we experienced a 5% decrease last year and the year before as well. I'm sure there's some reason for it. Part of it maybe is because I haven't talked about our finances for a few years. And also people have joined the parish that may not be as plugged into the giving as before. So that our operational income is now just dipped down a little bit where our operational expenses are, but we still have a surplus because you can see the bequests that came in pushed us way into the black. So that's fine, but for really good financial health is we always want to keep our operational income, our offertory, above the operational expenses, because the bequests you can't always count on, right? They do come in, and I'm sure they'll continue to come in, but we don't really want to count on that and just use those for specific projects and things. So that's the picture, and I last week when I was talking about the mission to the parish, it's like I'm excited about that. And so what I want to do is to invite you to consider what the giving is. To ask the question, and it's asking the question to Jesus, right? Because in the new covenant, our giving flows from our relationship with him. What is he asking of us? Even in a time of economic constraint, because we feel it in the parishes, you feel it in your families, that in the midst of some rising costs, what is the Lord asking me to give from the heart? Is it 10%? We have people in this parish who give 10%. Awesome. How about 5%? 3%? 1%? We included in here kind of a breakdown of what 5% and 3% look like according to income, to have to give you some hard numbers to that. But whatever it is, Father Ansgar, I don't know if you know him over at Our Lady of Lavang, they just purchased the New Hope Church, they renovated it. It was millions of dollars, right? And so what he did, when he asked his people, he had plenty of big donors, is that he said, at least give what it costs for your daily coffee, right? Even if it's just like $5 a day, whatever that is. Did you know in 4 years, they paid it off? And they didn't even have to sell their property up in Alameda in Northeast, right? It's just that every little bit helps. Even if I feel like I don't have much and it's just like the widow's mite, just a little bit, if that's given from the heart, the Lord is going to bless that. Or maybe I've lost my job and I don't have anything to give right now in terms of money. Well, I have my time. I can help out. I can pitch in. It's a big campus. We got plenty of stuff to do around here to help with the mission, that every one of us can be part of this mission. So what is the Lord asking of me? In most parishes, our parish is no exception, but the parishes around the United States, it generally goes like this. 10% of parishioners provide about 90% of the revenue. That's the way it is. But imagine if we got even the rest of the parish to give 1%. That little trend I spoke to you about, it'd be gone next week. Right? So what is the Lord asking? And one of the great ways to give is electronically. And I know some of us may not be familiar with that, but Kevin Minetti, who's in the front office, be happy to get you set up on that. All you have to do is call him. Come on in, we'll get it done for you. Because the electronic giving is actually the safest way to give. You can read the rest of the report to find the hopes and some of the awesome things that we have in mind, especially as we go forward with this mission. Because I hope you're as excited about this mission as I am, and to provide the resources to accomplish it, whatever is on our heart, of the giving from our heart. So let's listen to the Lord's words today. That a parable is addressed to us, to forgive as the Lord has forgiven us, to receive that forgiveness which gives us the power to forgive, and not to have these other attachments, right? Of what using our earthly resources Eucharistically. I am so grateful for what you give. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. The Lord is never outdone in generosity, and so let's open our hearts to listen to him about what to give and to live the Eucharistic life with our earthly treasures.